Hi and welcome to Tax Pro FF. We're doing a how-to tutorial. Today we're going to focus on pulling information from a range of data. Now what we're going to use in Excel is a VLookUp formula, and there's a couple of ways to do it. But we're going to focus on doing it the old-fashioned way. Sorry about old-fashioned way, and that's basically just typing up the formula. And what VLookUp does is it looks up based upon a name or a number, any kind of information you want. So in a large amount of data like this, you could find the number 78 if you wanted to, and for idle, and in the month of April. So you could tell Excel to find this number or that number or this number, and we do it rather quickly. Now, before we actually do that, we have to set a couple of parameters in the formula, and let's start typing it in, and I guess it's easier to understand once you see how it works. So first we tell Excel we're going to equal something, so it knows that there's a formula coming up, and you get that automatic formula going. VLookUp, there it is. But I'll type it in anyway, equals, because I already remember I've done it a million times. VLookUp, open parentheses. Now it's asking me for the value. That's the first thing. Take a look, it says value. So we're going to look up value Bob. And where are we going to look up is in this array, or what I like to call a range. So let's highlight that all the way across to the total. So that's our range. And then how many columns over do I want to find this information Bob? So let's find it in the month of April. So how do you start counting that? Bob is 1, so when we find Bob, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns over. And then we close the parentheses. And bingo bango, you get your 538. Now let's quickly make that into currency. Okay, 538, Bob. Now, what if I don't want to go in now and type in 5 or 1 every time I want to find something? See, 1 is Bob. By the way, in Lotus notes 1, 2, 3, it would be 2 to find. I think it's 0 and then 1. Bob would be 0. It counts differently, but it's pretty much the same kind of application. So what I like to do is I start to get fancy. I basically take out the 1 and I give it this number. Now it's going to give me a value because it doesn't know what's in there, but I could type in 1, now I could type in 2, now I could type in 3, 4, 5. So another way of doing that would be also, that's a quick way of getting it to look up this value. Now what if you have 2 Bobs? You have Bob B. I have Bob A and Bob B. Let's insert Bob A and Bob B. And let's give ourselves some different numbers. I don't know. 101 equals this plus 15. Let's copy it over. Copy this formula and see the totals change. Okay. Now, what happens if I tell it to find Bob A? It's going to bring back Bob A. But what if I have Bob and Bob? Let's see what happens. Ooh, it's confused. Brings back 146. $146. Let's find $146. Can't find it. There it is. It brings back the first Bob. Now, is that going to hold true if we insert another Bob? But let's make this 50. This already has formula in there. It still brings back that first Bob. as you will see. This 146 right there. So obviously, a better criteria for Bob would to be give each one A, B, and C. And this way, if you put in Bob, it won't find it. And especially if you enter in the word false. $538. So that's asking for an exact match. How's about just Bob? They won't find it. There it goes. But now if you tell it false, bring back the next one over. It'll bring back the first Bob it finds. You got to be wary of how to use false. The best way is really just to assign people, you know, if you don't find an exact match, you know, false. You did find 3 Bobs, so you're better off just labeling them like that. Now what I'm doing here is if I'm trying to demonstrate what happens if you paste over the information. Notice if you don't freeze the frames, at some point it's gonna jump. Let's say I needed to copy all this information across for whatever reason. So what you want to do here is you want to lock in the cells themselves. So by pressing F4 I could lock them in. Now I could copy and paste across, and the formula will apply to the third column. So what it's really doing is just bringing back, let's say I needed Bob A. It's on caps. So here I would be looking for Bob A in the third column. Right, Bob A in the third column. Okay, it's a little bit confusing like that. Take that out, put it in there. So now you have 500, it's looking up the second, but let's say we would want to, right, so this is the second one actually. So it should really read like this. There. Second one, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Now you may be asking, what if you have Bob B, sorry about that, B, Bob C, etc. And you wanted to quickly get the info. How would you copy this down? Well, you would have to lock in by pressing a $sign in front of the 1. You would have to lock in that particular one, and then you could go ahead and the formula will copy. At least it should have. Oh, one thing we did wrong here is we locked in Bob A. We don't want to lock in Bob A. We want to get this gone. Now you go, ching, here there is no value because it's looking for something where there's no number here yet. So right away the number appears. And it's a really quick way of getting a lot of numbers from one place to another using the Excel VLookUp function. But as you can see, it's also knowing how the formula is going to react when you move it across. Depending on what you want to do, I mean, it's always different. I have plenty of examples where this formula is incredibly useful, but it'll bring back a 0 because the value doesn't exist. When we return, remember we had Bob A, and just Bob, it goes NA. Now you can fix that quickly. You go if is NA